we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We just listened to David Peckinpaugh with Merits. And now we are here with Jeremy to recap what he learned, what maybe all of the students here learned on International Hospitality Students Day 24. So, Jeremy, tell us your thoughts.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. I actually took some notes. I enjoyed listening to David talk, his candor, his enthusiasm for the market. I picked up quite a few things from what he was saying, but I want to touch on a quote he said. He mentioned he wants to students and himself and people he gives advice to learn from the past but not get trapped into it. That was a specific quote that he said. And I give that advice a lot to candidates and actually people that are currently working. Like, complacency is a demon. Like, if you get complacent in what you're doing and you get stuck in what you're doing and you don't have that drive, that enthusiasm for what you're doing, and that complacency, he referred to as getting trapped. That to me is something you definitely have to pay attention to, again, as a candidate and also as somebody who is employed. Another thing that I noticed David spoke about, he is the CEO and the president, but he called himself the chief cultural officer. So to me, he was really focused on his team, his people, the culture of the company. For me, that's something I'm pretty passionate about. I think the days of the old school where people led by fear, which, I'm old enough to have managers that were like that in the past. Those are done. The newer generation don't operate that way. Maybe there's a small minority that do, but most people are focused on company culture, work-life balance, and things that are going to make them proud and places that are going to be proud of working for. So I really appreciated that he called himself the chief cultural officer. He seemed very focused on the people aspect and the culture of the company. Another thing he mentioned was engagement, and how he engages and how they engage. He said, he was giving advice to do it as broadly as you can through many avenues. He said hospitality programs, local and throughout the country, recruiting. They were doing keynotes. There's never a silver bullet when it comes to recruiting or when it comes to anything in your career on accomplishing things. So I feel like the more tools that you get under your belt is definitely to a candidate's advantage and to an employee's advantage. What do you think, Deborah, so far on what I've touched on?
Yeah, I was really actually surprised about a couple things. First of all, like travel directors. I mean, how many travel directors? Like 200? I never even realized. I mean, think about the job positions just in that little part of the segment, of the big segment, and I think that's where a lot of students are very, very surprised. They're not, there's so many positions out there and best kept secret type of positions.
What do you think about what I mentioned? Maybe I was wrong, so if you can push back on it, when I said the old school way, right? Like, I'm old enough, I have the gray hairs, I can prove it, that I was led by fear and back in the day. I don't know if you were.
Well, here's the thing.
Were you?
The hospitality industry is all about the basics. And I believe the old school is the basics. And so many times we try to find something new and innovative and different. But I tell you what, the hospitality is all about the basics. And that comes from old school. So,
well, when I say old school, when I say old school, I'm talking about coaching, right? Because he mentioned cultural officer. So I'll give you an analogy. All right. So I watch a lot of hockey, and there's coaches, and old school coaches in hockey were terrifying, right? Hockey, yeah, back to basics. They're playing the same sport. You said hospitality, same sport, the basics, right? But the way people were led back then, they would take clipboards, throw them across the room, kick over chairs, yell at their players, getting them motivated. I'm not saying that happened in hospitality to that extreme, but what I mean is now they have a player's coach, right? And I live in Tampa. We won a couple Stanley Cups. I didn't personally do it, but our team did. And our coach, John Cooper, is a player's coach. All right. And what that means is He does not screaming at the players, doesn't call them out in media. He leans over their shoulder. He whispers in their ear. He works, he finds their strengths and he works to it. If a player trains a certain way that's not with the team, he's going to let them train that way to make them a better player for the team, right? And I know I'm going on about hockey here, but I think that analogy works well with hospitality because we are a team. Like there's a player, Nikita Kucherov. I literally went to the Tampa Bay Lightning practice. The whole team is practicing, and John Cooper let Nikita Kucherov go by himself in the corner for 2 hours and work on one specific shot off the wall. Now, back in the day, that wouldn't have happened. He would have been skating laps with sandbags, but he let him do it. And guess what? Nikita Kucherov was the highest scorer in the league.
There you go.
So players coach. So when I mean like old school, I meant like I've had some managers in the past. What I liked about what David was talking about was the focus on the company culture. And I think a lot of students, from what I've been hearing, and a lot of employees too, no matter their age, are telling me that they're looking for work-life balance, especially after COVID, when people had a taste of spending time with their family. And I think that the more companies focus on that, the more they're going to draw in talent. And I think that the talent is looking for that. And if you disagree with me or you agree with me, please put it in the chat. Because that's something that, I love to hear, because I don't mind being wrong. I love being wrong. Call me out. But
this is
that's
how we learn. And that's the hospitality industry and tourism is, hey, you're not going to learn unless you make some mistakes. So it's a very, very forgiving type of industry. So yeah, let's hear some comments. Any questions for Jeremy? Bring it. We welcome it. And I thought David did a fantastic job, and I've known him for a long time. And I'm just so intrigued that he has such a different background than hospitality, but yet he's able to use his history, his economic, major and schooling to apply. And that is the beauty of our industry. We do have a
one thing
here. Oh. Here we go. David touched on, this is from Forrest. Thank you, Forrest. He touched on HCM has a lot of entry-level positions, but it can be hard to move up. What advice do you have to graduates who are being undervalued in the current job market? Great question. What do you think?
Okay. I had some. Okay, I'll answer that. He actually touched on that a little bit. Not directly, but I think what he talked about, internships, was one of the things that he was talking about. I think that's a great way for talent to work with the company that they want to work with, if the company provides internships. But it's a good way for you to hands-on work with the company, get to know the thought leaders and the hiring managers and the people that are currently working there, and even see if it's a fit for you. But when you mention undervalued, I'm just curious on why you would feel that way. Not you, Forrest. I'm just mean generally a candidate would why you would feel undervalued. Like what makes you feel that way?
Right.
Make notes and get to the bottom of that.
I think it's a matter of if you feel undervalued, you need to go to the source and ask
right
about this.
That was my next question.
Like you said, write the notes of why you feel that way. You need to share that with your supervisor or the leader and say, hey, look, I'm feeling undervalued here right now. I want to do more. I want to learn more, things like that. You have to express it.
Right. I'm thinking though, but maybe we're right. Forrest, please comment again, because maybe I'm misreading you. I read it as your current employer, but then I'm reading your sentence again, and you said, what advice do you have graduates plural who are being undervalued in the current job market? So do you mean just like, overall broad stroke, you feel graduates are being undervalued? Is that what you mean? Right. Or do you specifically? But we'll see if that comes back up.
Right. We have another comment here, though, from Nolan. Thank you, Nolan, for being here with us. Nolan says, I think it's important to create a life-work balance, especially within our industry. Oh, you're so right. More and more students are looking for the company that highlights the importance of this within their culture.
Yep.
Nice comment.
Like I was touching on that earlier. I hear that that's the common thread. That and then the frustration of ghosting. I'm
Yeah,
sure there's a lot of heads nodding right now. It
right.
drives me insane. Don't
I do
think
not.
it's just you. Don't think it's just you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't, I'm not going to call anybody out here, but like it's just uncanny
yeah,
how we have not learned to fix that. I don't know. I don't know the solution. I guess you could take it as a, excuse me, as a student or employee. If you are being ghosted and you've been relentlessly applying to that place, then maybe that's a sign that they're just not for you. I know that sounds kind of crass, but I mean, after a
right.
while, I wouldn't want to work with somebody who's ghosting me. But I
Right.
am hearing 1 minute from our producers, so I need to cut my dialogue short.
Yeah. And Forrest did say it was in relation to ghosting and applying to new jobs. So
Oh,
there
okay.
you go.
Before, stay tuned. We'll continue to answer questions if
Yeah.
you keep on
And then you
watching.
do have one fan here from Lindy. Here we go. Makes sense of making mistakes are learning opportunities. Oh, you're so right. You're so right. Absolutely. Love it. So yeah, let's move on to our next interview. Everybody's gonna love this. Viva Las Vegas. Surprise there. And then we will be back with Jeremy Nichols to do the recap. So here we go again. Stay tuned.
Here in beautiful Michigan, it's time to start your hospitality and tourism career because there's no better time
to spin the wheel,
to settle in,
to create something good,
make a splash,
to share the flavor,
to brew happiness.
So what are you waiting for?
Well, there you go. So now we are ready to go into our next interview. And I'm so happy that Grand Valley State University is hosting and supporting and partnering with us here. I'm just so excited. And I know students around the world, you are as well. And we can't wait to be back to do another recap. So here we go. Our producers are saying, let's do it.